Greetings to you all. It's time for your English class. We have completed 2 units successfully. In today's session, we are going to enter into a new unit. Before entering into that, just see the pictures I'm showing you now. Can you guess what type of pictures these are? Can you say what is the similarity in these pictures? Yes, you're right. You have found out. Absolutely. Today's topic, a new topic, it's about 2 stories about flying. In that we have 2 parts. The first part of 2 stories about flying is First Flight, written by Liam Ho Flaherty. Liam Ho Flaherty was born on 28th August 1896 and he died on 7th September 1984. He was an Irish writer. He used to write a lot of socialistic stories. In the first half of the 20th century, he wrote mostly about the socialistic stories, and later on he just covered various topics, and he wrote a lot of short stories, and that one of such stories is First Flight. In today's session, we are going to deal only with his First Flight. Can you tell me what is this? Have you seen anywhere this? I hope you would have got that point. It is a bird, but you are unable to identify what type of bird it is. Am I right? Yes, you're right. It is a seagull. Now, we'll just enter into a small facts about the seagull.
Seagulls. Seagulls are a type of seabird. They generally have a white body, gray wings, and a yellow beak. But some are more speckled. Have you ever been to the beach? Well, then you probably have seen some sneaky seagulls. Be careful though, because they might try to steal your fish and chips. Seagulls are carnivores that scavenge. This means they eat meat, like small fish or crabs. But they will also find food where they can, diving into the water. Or even at the dump. Despite eating at the dump, seagulls are very clever birds, and they are great at working together. In a flock, they communicate with harsh squawks and body movements. Mate, 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 mate. Together, they learn different ways to catch food, like all stamping on the ground together to attract worms. Isn't that smart? They're also great at flying and gliding. And did you know seagulls can drink both salty seawater and fresh water? No wonder they're always at the beach.
First, let's enter into the characters of the story. Father Seagull, Mother Seagull, 2 brothers and sister. Along with them, the young seagull. These are the family members of the young seagull. The scenario of the story starts like this. The young seagull was left alone on the ledge. Ledge is nothing but an extreme vast wide space, a steep sharp edge of the cliff. So the young seagull was left alone in the cliff, and all the family members, that is father, mother, 2 brothers and sisters, were not there. What happened to them? Yes, they were not there because 2 brothers and sister, whose wings were very shorter than the young seagull, they just ran to the edge of the brink and they flew away a day before itself. Even though their wings are shorter, they tried a lot. This young seagull also just move a little, reach the edge of the brink but was unable to make us fly. Now he has to make us fly for his life. For life in the sense, yes, of course, if he wants to be alive, he has to fly. What is the scenario deals with it? Why he has to fly for his life? Obviously, we know that the parent birds used to feed the young ones until and unless they fly out of the place where they have been born. But here, the young seagull was left alone in the ledge and no one was there to accompany him. It shows that the stage of flying has came to him, but he doesn't do any practice. He doesn't try itself to move out of the ledge. So he was made to stay alone on the ledge. Even though he just ran to a little, reached the edge of the ledge, he was unable to make his flight. Why? What is the reason? Because of the vast expanded sea which was beneath the cliff. He was totally afraid on seeing the vast expanded sea beneath the cliff. On seeing that, he just moved back to the place where he was being born and he slept over there. He moved back and he slept over there where he was born. Because of this, he was being left alone in the ledge. Now, no one was there to feed him with some food. If he wants to be alive, to make his life, obviously he has to fly. Let's see whether the young seagull is going to make his flight or he is going to starve and to lose his life. What is going to happen to the young seagull? Even though the wings of the younger siblings, that is, his two brothers and sister, their wings were too shorter than the young seagull. But they have tried a lot and made their first flight a day before itself. The parents also started to scold the young seagull for not making his first flight like his brothers and sister. But then too, he was not taking any of the words of his parents in his ears. He was totally afraid of the vast expanded sea which was beneath, and he was totally in a negative thought process that his wings would not support him like his brothers and sisters' wing supported them to make their first flight. The parents too got out of the focus of the young seagull. They just started to focus on the siblings. They started to teach them the art of flying. What do you mean by art of flying? It's nothing but how to make a direction in the wind, how to cut through the wind, and how to make their flight even though the wind blows stronger, how to make their direction, how to land down on any of the places while they were being flying, how to search for the things while they were flying in the sky. All these things were taught by the parents. At last, the last task of these siblings were they have to land on the sea water and they have to take their prey from the water. That was the last task, and they were been focusing totally on the siblings, how to make them fly and how to take their food from the sea. All these were being taught by the parents to the siblings. This young seagull was left alone in the ledge. No one took notice of him. The nightfall came and he just slept in the same ledge where he was born. But the entire family was not there. The next day morning, it was a very great sunshine. All the family members, they started to focus on their art of flying and to catch their prey. That was the main event of the day. As they were been doing all these things, no one took notice of the young seagull who was left alone on the cliff of the mountain. They were busy in doing their work. Now, let's see what this young seagull is going to do for his livelihood. It was totally 24 hours. This young seagull was left alone on the cliff of the mountain. Now, he was helpless. So now we have to notice where all the family members were. They were been moving on to the big plateau which was just opposite to the mountain cliff, and there they had a small cliff in the plateau. The entire family member started to stay over there, leaving this young seagull alone on this mountain cliff. We can have a thought process that this young seagull also can walk to the plateau and can reach the family to get some food. But it is highly impossible because there was a huge gap between the mountain cliff and the plateau cliff. So it was a highly tough task for the young seagull, because already we know that he was very much afraid. Even though his parents scolded him, he doesn't have that courage to move out and to stretch out his wings to make his first flight. That was the reason he was left alone on the ledge. Now it is highly impossible for him to move on to the opposite cliff where the entire family member were staying. It was totally 24 hours he was left alone by his family members. The young seagull doesn't know what to do for his livelihood. The entire family member didn't took any notice of this young seagull. As soon as the morning rises, the entire family was very busy in making their flight. Even the parents were very busy in correcting the art of flight for the siblings, because they have made their flight a day before itself. This young seagull alone didn't make us flight. All others made their flight. They were totally focusing on the art of flying, correcting them in their art of flying, how to catch a fish from the seawater. All these lessons were taught, and now the siblings started to catch a fish from the seawater as their prey. The older brother of the young seagull, he just took a fish from the seawater. He flew away to his ledge and he started to have his own prey. On seeing that, the young seagull was very sad. He just need a piece of food for his survival, but there were no one to give a piece of food for his survival. As these scenarios were going on, he was just noticing what all the things made by his family members. Now the next part, what their family member did is, they started to circle around the sky. They started to make their flight a very perfect one, and what all mistakes they have done was being corrected by their parents. As this was being going on, now it's a very bright sunshine. The sun started to arise on top of the ledges, that is on top of the mountain cliff and on top of the plateau cliff also. So the entire place, the sun was shining very brightly. Now this young seagull started to feel the heat in his body, because he was starving for totally 24 hours and he was unable to make a survival, and he was being able to feel the heat because of his starving and without moving from one place to another. This was the reason why he felt the heat in his body. Now obviously he needs some support for his survival. As of the family members, they didn't took any notice of this young seagull. Now he wanted to do something to grab their attention. What he is going to do? Let's see. The young seagull was left alone on one hand. On the other hand, as the older brother caught the fish, the entire family started to appreciate him and started to praise him for making us first prey. As the scenario was going on the other side, this young seagull started to feel the hot sun. He started to feel the heat in his body because he was empty stomach for a night before itself. The day before itself, the entire family member flew away and they made their flight and they were been enjoying with their food. But the young seagull doesn't make his flight. Even though his parents scolded him, they started to taunt him. He was not having the courage to move out of the ledge and to make his first flight. He was totally afraid of making his first flight. As this scenario was going on the other hand, now the sun started to rise to the top and the extreme heat was being felt by the young seagull, because already he was empty stomach. Now the entire mountain was being surrounded by the sun's rays. Now he was being able to feel the extreme heat in his body. He doesn't know what to do for his survival. Now he just wants to grab the attention of the family member. Let's see what he is doing to grab the attention of the family member. Yes, this young seagull started to move to the edge of the ledge and started to stand in one leg, and he was being just looking at the entire family. He was looking at the entire family. He was noticing the actions done by the family members. Two brothers and sister, they just had their food and they were being fast asleep, putting their neck inside the feather and they were being fast asleep. On the other side, the father, what he was been doing exactly? Yes, he was been cleaning his feathers with his long beak. On the other hand, the mother was staying a little away from the ledge and she was having a piece of fish in her beak and she was scraping the fish with her beak. Now this young seagull took notice of all the activities done by the family members. No one took notice of this young seagull, but the mother seagull alone took notice of this young seagull and she was making her busy activity that she was scraping the fish with her long beak. On seeing that, even this young seagull had a thought process that he too loved to get a fish and he too want to scrap the fish with his beak before and after. But his thought process doesn't work because even the mother doesn't help him to get a piece of food for the survival. Now this young seagull, as he was being pretending to stand in one leg, no one came near to him to give a piece of food for him. Now he wants to make some other scenario to grab the attention of the family members. Exactly, he started to do more and more activities which will exactly grab the attention of the family members. Now obviously, if any of the family members doesn't take care of us, obviously mother will take a lot of care about us. Same way here, now the young seagull had a thought process that he has to grab the attention of his mother. So what he is doing next? Obviously, out of his hunger, he started to cry and scream towards his mother. What type of screaming he gave? Ga, ga, ga. He started to scream in a very loud noise that obviously his mother will take a notice of him. Same way, the mother took a notice of him on his cry and screaming, but mother replied in the same scream, ga howl. That means she is not interested to give him some food, which was against the scenario, the decision took by the father and mother. So she was being there in the opposite ledge itself and she was screaming against the young seagull, saying that ga howl. And now he wanted to do something to grab the attention of the mother. So again he was been crying for a minute and started to scream in a loud noise. On hearing that, the mother wanted to teach a lesson to the young seagull. Now she had a clear-cut plan with her that how to make this young seagull to move out of the ledge. So what she did, as she was been scrapping a piece of fish, she took it in her beak and she was flying to the ledge where the young seagull was left alone. She just started to round the cliff and after a moment she just stood in front of the ledge of the mountain cliff and she was flapping her wings in a very loud noise. On hearing that, the young seagull was very happy that the mother has came near to him to feed him with some food. But to his surprise, she stood there itself. She never came near to the young seagull to hand over the piece of fish to him. So now what she did? Now she stopped to flap her wings. She stood motionless. Her feathers were not flapping. She stood motionless near the edge of the ledge and she was looking at the young seagull. This young seagull was also looking at the mother that she will arrive next to the young seagull and she will feed him with the piece of fish which she had in her beak. But she never came near to him. She stood motionless. He waited for a moment and to a great extent the sight of the food maddened him. Now at any cost he need the piece of fish for his survival. So what he did absolutely, he just ran a little, wanted to grab the piece of fish from his mother. But obviously what the mother did, suddenly she just moved out of the ledge and seagull who had made a small jump to grab the fish started to go downwards in the space and it was a very huge space. Already we know that he was totally afraid to make his flight because of the vast expanded space which was beneath the cliff. So now he was totally afraid that he was going down into the vast space, and he started to shout out of his fear. He can feel the wind rushing towards him, and he was totally in a terrified manner. For a moment, he was totally blank. For a moment, he was totally terrified. A greatest fear stuck in his heart as he was being going downwards into the vast expanded space. The direction of the wind made him to roll upside and downside, and made a terrified fear in the heart of the young seagull. As this was the scenario, just a moment the scenario was being carrying over. After a moment, what he did.
Hey guys, I know that you're waiting for the conclusion of the lesson. But before entering into the conclusion of the lesson, let's have a short play. What type of game we are going to play? Absolutely, we are going to have a puzzle game. What is that puzzle game? Let's enter into the game, and at the end let's know how many spots you have won. Yes, let's get started.
He just felt that his wings as got spread out in the air, and he started to flap his wings. Once he started to flap his wings, he just came upward as the way he went downwards. Now he was unbelievable. He started to scream, shout in a very loud noise that is being supported him to move against the direction of the wind, and he made his first flight. He was very happy that he doesn't went beneath the vast expanded space and he was being died. He just made his first flight and his wings supported him to move upwards. On seeing this, the mother was very happy. As she came with the thought process to teach a lesson to this young seagull, she was very happy that out of her lesson, the young seagull came to a realization that his wings too will support him like his brothers and sister wing. And now he made his first flight. He was very happy. There were no words to express, and his entire fear got out of his heart. Now he started to fly in the sky like the other siblings with the family members. That is, with his father, mother, two brothers and sister. Like them, he too started to fly in the sky. So now let's see what is the next scenario. This was the greatest expectation of the family members, isn't it? Yes, they were expecting this young seagull to make his first flight. Obviously, their thought process had achieved. Now this young seagull also changed his negative thought process and made his flight into the air. Now let's see what is the next scenario. As he made his flight, he just felt the air just moving outwards his belly, that is his stomach. And the wind was rushing towards his feathers, and he can feel that his wings were being spread out in the wind, and he was able to make his flight in that strong wind. He was making his flight, he was able to cut through the winds, and he was able to make the direction of the wind. As he was being very afraid of all these things, now the entire thought process of the young seagull was out of fear. He doesn't have a thought process that he was afraid to do all these things. The moment he made his first flight, all his thought process went away. Not even a single thing which he had in his past had entered into his mind. He too was being flying like his two brothers and sister. He too made cuts in air, and he felt that the entire wind was being rushing towards him. He was able to tear the wind and he was able to make his first flight in that. As he was being doing that, he was not being tired because he was being overwhelmed with his joy, and he doesn't know what to do with all these things because already he had a fear that he will enter into the vast expanded sea. But now his thought process was totally different. He was just having a notice of all the greenery, that is the green path of the sea and the mountain cliffs, plateaus, what all things was around him. He was able to have a complete view of it once he started to flew in the sky. As it was that the mother started to scream along with him, and she was being very much joy that she had succeeded in her plan. Now the entire family member, those who were there in the opposite cliff, yes, they also started to praise him. They just took their flight and came near to the young seagull where he was been flying in the sky, and they started to upright him. They started to praise him, and they started to scream a lot to show their entire joy towards his first flight. As this scenario was going on, now he was being taught by his parents the art of flight. As they focused on the siblings how to make their flight, the same way now they just started to focus on the young seagull how to make his entire flight and how to make his correct way in the wind. All this art of flight was taught to this young seagull also. So now they were being in a very joyful mood. The entire family members started to praise him and started to celebrate his victory in the air itself as they were been making their flight in the wind. As the scenario was going on, now he was able to see the vast expanded greenery flooring where his brothers and sister were landed ahead ago and had their prey in the sea flooring. Now it's time for him to get its prey. As he was making his flight, he just saw the edge of the mountain cliff, edge of the plateaus and the ridges in the sea, and he was able to see a lot of vegetations which was around the mountains and the plateaus. As these things were going on, now the entire family member, that his father, mother, two brothers and sisters started to land on the green flooring, which was the greatest fear of the young seagull. Now it's time for this young seagull to land on it and to get its prey. So now what he did, the entire family member was calling him in their gestures to get into that green flooring and to take his food. As he was been afraid of it prior, now what he did, he just made it step by step. First, he just let his legs inside that water. It started to sink inside the water, and he was been making his entire body to place on the surface of the water. As he was making himself, he sank into the water till its belly, and the water touched his belly. Now he was in his great fear and started to shout aloud and started to scream because he was totally afraid that he will sink into the water and he will die. So he just started to flap his wings to make his flight out of this green flooring. But he was unable to do that. For what reason? We know already. He was made to starve for 24 hours a day before, and now he was totally tired as he made his first flight in the sky. As he made his flight and started to land on this green flooring, he was unable to flap his wings and move out of the water. A great scare entered into his thought process that he will sink inside the water and he will die. But to his great surprise, what had happened? He was no more sinking inside the water. He started to float on the top of the green flooring unexpectedly. As his thought process was in a negative way, a positive thing happened to him. He was no more sinking inside the water. He started to float on the top of the green flooring, and he just started to scream and cry out of his joy. Now the entire family members started to celebrate his victory, made his landing on the green flooring. Now they cannot make him to wait for more time as he was being starving for 24 hours. They caught a dogfish and fed him for the first time. The entire family was celebrating his victory, and now whatever negative thought process he had in his mind, totally he came out of that. The entire family was out of joy that the young seagull made his first flight and started to land on the green flooring, took us food for the first time. All this celebration got over. So only the author had given the title as his first flight. Now you come to know how the title coincides with the story. So only the title was given as his first flight. Likewise, children, we too have lot of negative thought process in our mind. For example, in the concept of reading, making our skills and talents, we used to compare ourselves with the others, and we may think that they have more talents and skills than us, and we don't have the same skills and talents. But I'll tell you one thing, each and everyone has a different skill, different talent and different ability. No one will get into the coincidence of others. For example, we can take the fingers in our hand. Can you make these fingers to be equal in your hand? Obviously not. It is very tough because that is the greatest creation of the God where we cannot change anything. Same ways we are also a creation of God where the desired thing will be happening to us. We have our own skills and talents. We have our own ability and capability. We know what we are. Obviously, if we try and try like the young seagull, obviously we will succeed. Or prior, how this young seagull was making himself idle in the ledge where he was born. If we too are idle, obviously we will not succeed in any of the things what we are going to do in our future. Have a plan, work according to it, obviously you will succeed. This young seagull doesn't have any plan, it doesn't work against it. But the mother seagull taught him how to make us way, and she just made him to realize what is ability and capability. But we are not like this bird who is having 5 senses. We have 6 senses. Obviously, we can determine ourselves what we are. So, keep going on. First plan, then work, and then succeed. As we come across the TDP of our sir on 30th May, he had clearly said that when we plan and work towards a destination, obviously we will succeed and we will attain the destination. According to that, children, I hope you will plan, you will work, and obviously success is on your way. You can just taste the fruit of success in your life. As I'm completing the first part of 2 stories about flying, that is his first flight. I'll meet you in the next online session with the second part of the 2 stories about flying. Still then, stay tuned to English online class. Thank you.